JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Friday, January 2nd, 2026. Happy New Year. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at. Go from there. S&P futures in the green, a far cry from Wednesday afternoon, where markets sold off, right? We had a three-session sell-off Friday, Monday, Tuesday, the slimmest three-session decline in 3 or 4 years, down 0.5% over that time frame. And then Wednesday, similar setup, low volume, markets kind of chopping around in the red. The VIX was muted, and then all of a sudden at 2 o'clock, the SPY was at 686, and someone hit a button, and it's like either the buyers disappeared, or the sellers showed up, or a combination of both, and markets tumbled. No news, no catalyst. There was nothing to really explain the move, uh, and it was to the point where if you're sitting there watching, there's options, right? The options of, do I close positions? Do I go get some hedges? Do I get some puts? And then sure enough, I was on the rant Wednesday afternoon. It's like even the put position, so SQQ calls and some of these other strikes I was looking at, they wouldn't have made money unless you have impeccable timing. And even that, the percentage gains on the hedges would not have offset some of the other call positions. And then it's to the point where I'm looking to play bounces. So sure enough, today, no news, no catalyst to explain the huge move up so far this morning to start the new year in the futures. I mean, obviously a fresh slate, like clean slate. You also had Asia markets rallying overnight, Europe markets this morning. So just some optimism heading into this year. Uh, my top five stock webinar will be out this weekend. Trying to figure out, get some kind of gauge on the year, right? And it's easy. Everybody has predictions at the start of the year, and most times they don't pay out. I mean, who could have thought some of the things that happened last year? But just take. I always like to look at historicals, right? And historically speaking, midterm year, first year of the presidency, typically somewhat bullish. That the second year typically is not the case, right? And we're coming in back to back to back huge gains for the S&P, 20% plus the first 2 years, 16% last year. Are we going to do 4 years in a row? Remarkable stuff, not ruling it out. But to me, it just, we'll have to see how things play out. Also, if you take a look at the average pullback since 1950 on the midterm years, there's a 17% pullback at some point in the year. So it's just something to keep an eye on. I'm always cautiously optimistic. I'll continue to be until things change. In regards to the market today, probably going to be the same carbon copy that we saw uh, with the volumes, anemic volumes, tight trading ranges, not much weight analyst changes again this morning, and then everybody's going to come out next week. A lot of fun stuff next week, right? Well, I mean, first we'll start getting earnings season kicks off in a week and a half. We also have CES, right? January 3rd to January 6th. I think there's more to that as well. So a lot of fun stuff next week. Yeah, but anyway, today is probably going to be somewhat of a boring session. So I'm probably not going to do too much. If I see opportunities, obviously I will. Um, 686 on the spot. That's been a big spot. We're hanging right on the thread on that on Wednesday before the pull in the afternoon. And sure enough, here we are right now, 685.64 on the SPY. Hopefully can find a bid here today, chop around, close on the green into the weekend would be nice heading into the first trading day of 2026. All right, that's overall marks. Just quick individual names. Some gappers this morning. Of course, SERV Robotics, one of my favorite names. I wish I could make it one of my top five stocks for 2026, but some of the criteria, I mean, I've already put it 35% gain, high short interest, but I'm looking for undiscovered names I don't trade too much to bring some fresh names into the mix. So SERV Robotics is not a fresh name to put in the mix. Gap in here this morning, close up 2% on Wednesday. Couldn't get over Tuesday's highs, 1066 or so. That's a key spot watching today. So if it gets over that, should be good to go. 1375 the next spot as well. I still trying to get some of my January strikes out to cover costs. When I get to this 100%, I will, and then ride the rest. Not going to go on a huge rant on SERV Robotics. TripAdvisor, disappointing Tuesday. Nice, I think it was 78% rally to the upside. No news, no catalyst outside of that big 6,000 call block that went through. And then couldn't continue on Wednesday. Sold off all the way down to 1420. And then the afternoon, similar to what the market was doing on the reverse side to the downside, someone hit a buy button on Trip, and it reversed into the green, almost into the green, closed down 8 cents, pretty much flat. See if we get some continuation here today. Similar to SERV, we'll look to close some of my calls out to cover costs when I get a chance, ride the rest. Would nice to see it close over 15 bucks. 15.10 is that 50-day moving average. So that'd be a big spot for me there. Same with Solar Edge, disappointing. Hopefully, you can get back over 30 bucks. 5 days in a row to the downside. One of these rallies or one of these moves to the upside will start to squeeze back up to 40 bucks. And then some other names overnight. BIDU, if you've heard some of the conversation I've had over the last year or so, and BIDU has had I've had some great trades on BIDU. But then into earnings a couple of times, it's like even with beats and raises, the stock couldn't do much. And I use the analogy that at sometimes I thought Baidu was like the Yahoo of China, right? Just couldn't get over the hump in regards to its core business, and then looking at some other avenues for its growth. So they've come out with their chatbot, right? Ernie bot. So they have their own bot in place, and they also, I didn't know this, they have their own chip, and it's that they don't have their own fab or what have you. I think they outsource a lot of it, but they had already acquired that and spun off that company, and then they announced overnight that they're going to look to list that on Hong Kong index. And I don't know if that was just a spark that Baidu needed, but boom, it's gapping higher here at 144. Baidu and Bob are up nicely in 2025. Maybe there's a continuation here, year number 2 on some of these names. And when I look at Baidu, you can make the fundamental case just based on its revenues and its position that it's a $200 plus stock. So, they have their hands in autonomous stuff. They have deals with Apple, Uber. So there's a lot of different avenues of growth for them. So if maybe this is a start and the spark it needs. I'm not going to chase the gap here at the open, but maybe I'll start looking for some other strikes for move back up at least to 170, 180. Jeffries this morning keeping a buy rating, upgrading the price target to 181. Could be the start of some other names into that upgrade cycle. So don't be surprised I had some strikes here on Baidu. RH, sure enough, after the close Wednesday, the White House announced that they're delaying the tariffs on furniture and other items in that sector until 2027, right? Remarkable stuff. So a full year out. If there was a big headwind for RH, that's one of it. Kicking myself here. I was trying to play it for $200. Sure enough, Wednesday's pull would have had me out of calls anyway. So it wasn't like I was going to get some spec calls on Wednesday. But here it is this morning gapping, and sure enough, as I'm on audio, it just went over 190. It's 192 now, 193. Would not be surprised to see this trade north of $200. Timing's gonna be tough to get some lottos here today. You can get the $200 lotto strikes, and if premiums might make it wacky enough that you might not be able to make money on it, unless of course it goes over $200. So I'm not going to chase it here, but don't be surprised if I do get some lotto strikes. I might even get 202.50s just to see if there's some overshoot here, because I talked about it the last couple of weeks. This is a name after its earnings. It almost seemed like the bottom is in and it's ready to resume its uptrend, or at least start an uptrend. So that's the thought process there. Other names still in sweet green here. Strong day Wednesday. I think it was up 7-8%. Has to get back over $7. Still like this story. Coco, one of my top 5 stocks for 2026. Rough 2 sessions since I got the calls. Still like this one for upside. I'm trying to think of some of the other names here. And then, of course, Reddit. I'll be in some strikes into next week. At some point, there'll be some news in regards to that one. TripAdvisor, same thing here. And that's it, folks. Have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Let's have a great 2026. Rock and roll.